I had just transferred to a new school in Japan. It was a big change, new classmates, new teachers, and a building that seemed older than I had expected. The school was a sprawling, traditional structure with creaky floors and dimly lit hallways, and the air always smelled faintly of dust. My new classmates were nice enough, but there was one thing they never stopped warning me about. Don't go into the third-floor girls' bathroom alone. At first, I thought it was just some stupid school myth, something to scare the new kid. But everyone seemed dead serious about it. They told me about Hanako-san, the ghost of a young girl who supposedly haunts the third stall in the third-floor bathroom. If you knock 3 times and call her name, she'll appear. I wasn't one to believe in ghost stories, so I just shrugged it off, laughing. Sure, I'll keep that in mind, I said, rolling my eyes. But I couldn't shake the feeling that they were all genuinely afraid. Even the boys kept their distance from that part of the school. It made me curious, too curious. It was a couple of weeks into the semester when the curiosity finally got the better of me. I had stayed after school to finish up an assignment and found myself alone in the empty hallways. As I walked down the third floor, I passed the infamous bathroom. It was a typical old-school bathroom, pale green tiles, a row of sinks, and a long mirror that was slightly cracked at the edges. But as I stood there, staring at the door to the third stall, I felt a chill run down my spine. The air was unnaturally cold, and the hallway behind me seemed far too quiet. Before I could talk myself out of it, I took a step toward the door. My heart was racing, but I told myself it was just a silly game. Ghosts weren't real, right? I opened the door and stepped inside. The sound of my footsteps echoed off the walls, making the small room feel much larger than it was. The third stall stood at the far end of the room, its door slightly ajar, creaking faintly in the still air. My hand trembled as I approached it. "Hanako-san," I whispered, half expecting nothing to happen. "Are you there?" Silence. I felt a wave of relief wash over me and chuckled at how ridiculous I was being. I turned to leave, but just as I reached the door, a soft tapping sound came from behind me. I froze. The tapping came again, 3 slow, deliberate knocks, echoing through the empty bathroom. Knock. 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 My blood ran cold. Slowly, I turned back toward the third stall. The door, which had been slightly open before, was now closed. I took a shaky step forward, my heart pounding in my ears. "Hanako-san?" I whispered, barely able to get the words out. Suddenly, the door creaked open on its own. There was no one inside the stall. The toilet sat there, perfectly normal, the tiles glistening faintly under the dim light. But something was wrong. The air felt thick, heavy, like it was pressing down on me. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. Then I heard it, a soft giggle, high-pitched and childlike, echoing through the empty bathroom. I whipped around, scanning the room, but there was no one there. The sinks, the mirrors, everything was as it had been when I walked in. But that giggle, it was like it was coming from everywhere at once, surrounding me, closing in on me. I stepped back, my eyes glued to the third stall. That's when I saw her. A small figure crouched behind the door, barely visible in the shadows. She was wearing a red skirt and a white blouse, her hair hanging over her face in tangled strands. I couldn't see her clearly, but I knew instantly who it was. Hanako-san. She stood up slowly, her movements unnaturally jerky, and stepped out from behind the stall door. Her head was tilted at an odd angle, her long hair hiding most of her face, but I could see just enough to make out her pale, gaunt skin. Her hands were clenched into fists at her sides, and she started walking toward me, her bare feet dragging across the floor. I backed up, my breath catching in my throat. I'm sorry, I stammered, my voice shaking. "I didn't mean to disturb you." Her head snapped up, and I saw her face, pale, ghostly, with wide, unblinking eyes and a twisted smile that seemed far too big for her small face. She took another step forward. "Do you want to play with me?" she whispered, her voice soft but chilling, like a child asking an innocent question. I bolted for the door, my heart racing. I could feel her behind me, the air growing colder with every step. Just as I reached the door, I heard the sound of the stall door slamming shut, followed by her eerie giggle. I ran out of the bathroom, not stopping until I was outside in the warm night air. I didn't look back. For days, I tried to convince myself that it hadn't been real. Maybe it was just my imagination, fueled by the stories my classmates had told me. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't forget the sound of that giggle or the sight of her twisted smile. I avoided the third floor from that point on, taking the long way around to avoid walking past that cursed bathroom. But the experience never left me. Every time I passed the bathroom on a lower floor, I felt a strange chill, a heavy weight in the air, like something was watching me. A week later, one of my classmates, Rena, went missing. She had been seen on the third floor after school, heading toward the bathroom. They searched everywhere for her, but no one ever found her. Some people said she ran away. Others whispered that Hanako-san had taken her. And now, every time I think about it, I hear that faint giggle in the back of my mind, haunting me, reminding me of what I saw that night. I wish I had listened to the warnings. Because now, I'm starting to wonder if Hanako-san is still waiting for me to come back.